Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today I am breaking down the California Proposition 50 election results and what it all means for 2026. Now this one I am doing a few days after Virginia and New Jersey and New York City because California Proposition 50, though the election just took place on Tuesday, is more so about 2026 in the House races than so much the 2025 elections. So let's break this down. The state of California had a proposition called Proposition 50, which is the first time you're hearing about this. This was a proposition, a voting proposition to be had by the voters of California as to whether the Democrats in California can redraw the California congressional map prior to the 2026 U.S. House elections. Now, this measure was put in place by Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom for a vote and I believe approved of by the state legislature of California, due to the fact that the state of Texas redrew its congressional map to be more friendly to the Republicans at the push of President Trump. So Gavin Newsom and the Democrats were hoping to essentially take away the Republican House seat gains that Texas is going to have. California would seek to essentially negate these. Now, as for this race overall, it was never really competitive. The final polling for this race showed a pretty lopsided margin in the support category, essentially being the Democratic category, and the no being the Republican side of things. And with 77% of the vote in, the yes side is leading by a very strong margin, 63.9 to 36.1. As the actual election results, it really was not too much of a surprise. In the build-up to this race, the comparison that I mostly made for this one was more so along the lines of 2021, where Gavin Newsom was facing a recall election. And this ultimately ended up being should Newsom be recalled, and was kind of a similar type of election where it was a yes or no vote instead of a Democrat versus Republican. It was more like a yes or no, and it ended up going for the no, 61.8 to 38.12. Now, in terms of this election overall, the election results ended pretty similarly, 64-36 in favor of yes for the Democrats to redraw the map. Now, what this means for 2026 is actually pretty important. Because when you look at the state of California, in 2024, it already is a very lopsided Democratic map in the state of California. There are 52 House seats in the state of, obviously, California, the electoral level. They have 55 electoral votes, which means they have, or 54 electoral votes now. They have 2 U.S. senators, and then they have 52 House seats. So there are 43 Democrats and 9 for the Republicans, roughly equating to about 82% of the overall House districts voting for the Democrats in the state of California. Now, you could already consider this essentially a gerrymander if you really want to be super specific, as the overall state voted for president, Kamala Harris 58 to 38, a 20-point win for the Democrat. If you really want to go by the vote numbers as well, you could argue it's gerrymandered on the House side as well. Democrats won the overall vote 60 to 39, about 61-39 overall. But 82% of the House map is already Democratic. Now that was the 2024 map. What California 50 or Proposition 50 seeks to do is redraw the map to make it even more of a Democratic gerrymander, which now that it passed, it is going to become. So what's going to happen? Well, there are a handful of seats that specifically are being targeted by this map. And Wikipedia does actually tell us which districts specifically are being targeted. California 1 with Doug LaMalfa would lose Republican-leaning metropolitan areas in Sacramento Valley while gaining Democratic-leaning areas in Santa Rosa. The northern portions would join the North Coast and Marion County in the Democratic-leaning 2nd District, while the southern portions would join North Bay in the 4th District. And then you have California 3 with Kevin Kiley. That one will be targeted California 22, California 41, and California 48. So right here, these are 5 Republican seats in California 1, 3, 22, 41, and 48, all being targeted as Democratic flips for 2026 now. It also seeks to make some Democratic districts more Democratic. So California 9, 13, 21, 27, 45, 47, and 49, several of them which were very, very close in 2024, this new map will consolidate a lot of the vote in these districts and make it more likely the Democrats hold on to all of these. So you're looking at California 3, California 1, and you can look at California 22 down here, California 41, and California 40. These are going to be top targets. So In the House seat map from 2024, Democrats hold 43, Republicans hold 9. Now, on the current map for 2026, the updated number here is going to be the Democrats favored in a lot of these seats, but now California 13 is a toss-up. California 22 with David Valadao is drawn more favorably for the Democrats, but it is still a toss-up seat. California 21 is likely. California 27 is likely. California 45 still close, but is now lean. Whereas you can see here, California 40 with Young Kim is now a pretty solid GOP district. But why is that the case? Because California 48 with Darrell Issa is now a toss-up. And I do believe the district in here, the other district, is going to be a more solid win for the Democrats. So now the Democrats are taking away a lot of seats for the Republicans in California, where California 5, 20, 23, and 40 are the only guaranteed Republican wins. So roughly that 9 Republican House seat could go down to 4 if the election goes the way it is. The guaranteed flips are California 3 with Kevin Kiley on the new map and California 1 with Doug LaMalfa are definitely going to be Democratic wins, really without too much of a doubt. Let me go into the LA area as well to give you a closer look here. And you see these districts, all of which now, including California 41, which is currently held by Ken Calvert. California 41 is now a solidly safe Democratic seat as well. And by being surrounded by all these safe Democratic seats, likely going to make California 45 with Derek Tran a more easier win for the Democrat. So now there's only 4 Republican seats in California, and if the toss-up ones go that way, it could get even more to the Democratic numbers. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, while we're talking about California, that California 13 stays blue, California 2022 goes blue, and California 48 with Darrell Issa goes blue. Let's say that's the case. That would lead, 48 for the Democrats, 4 for the Republicans. Now you have the Democrats at 208 House seats, Republicans at 211, with still about 16 House seats left to go nationwide. You can see why this redistricting those 5 seats are so important. The thought process was for the GOP that they're going to be in trouble in the midterms. The recent polling showed they're probably going to lose the House. And with the 2025 elections, where the Democrats did well pretty much everywhere, it's almost looking like a guarantee the Democrats are going to win the House. So by redrawing the congressional maps and getting more and more seats and gerrymandering more House seats, President Trump and the Republicans are hoping to essentially keep the election as red as possible and give the Republicans an opportunity to hold the House. Like, for instance, what Texas did. Texas made Texas 28 less blue, but it also flipped Texas 35, which is now a likely GOP win. It made Texas 15 more red. It made Texas 34 be a flip for the GOP. It made, I believe, one of these districts up here as well, in the Houston area more red, in the Austin area more red. So it's trying to make these seats more red. And there's been a lot of talk of gerrymandering going around the country as well. We've already seen Missouri, with Missouri 5 is now a guaranteed GOP flip. Kansas in 3, it sounds like the GOP is dropping their lawsuit opportunity to try and do that. So Kansas 3 will no longer be a flip. Utah, I believe that redistricting effort right now is currently stalled for the Democrats, so that will probably remain in the GOP side. But the GOP just recently also did the gerrymandering redraw of their map in Ohio, where Ohio 1 will still be a toss-up. Ohio 13 will likely be going to the Democrats, but Ohio 9 with Marcy Kaptur is looking like it will be a narrow Republican win. So that's netting the Republicans another House seat. Republicans, right before the elections, had a very big redraw in North Carolina, where Democrat Don Davis has been drawn out of his seat, so that will be a Republican pickup. A lot of Republican gerrymandering going on around the country, and California Proposition 50 was seen by the Democrats as a push against that and a push back against that, and trying to even the playing field a little bit, giving the Democrats more seats. As for what happens next, it seems that each day there's a rumor about states that could redraw their congressional map. The latest obviously being the state of Virginia, as Virginia just had its elections and the Democrats won the governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and the House of Delegates there. So they certainly have free reign to try and redraw their congressional map. If the Democrats were going to redraw their map in Virginia, I think obviously the first district that would be targeted would be Virginia 2, with Jen Kiggins. That would be a big gerrymander opportunity, and Virginia 1 with Rob Whitman, both of which could become Democratic flips if they redraw the map. Nothing concrete yet that that's going to happen, but those conversations are ongoing. Wes Moore has talked about potentially trying to draw out the one Republican seat in Maryland 1 with Andrew Harris, though he does mention a lot of these state Supreme Court justices in Maryland were appointed by the Republican Larry Hogan, so that may potentially be a situation that could not happen, but we'll see. Illinois, we've heard Governor J.B. Pritzker talking about the possibility of trying to redraw the map even more, even though Illinois is one of the most gerrymandered states in the country. He wants to maybe potentially try and redraw one other Republican district out in Illinois as also a pushback to President Trump and the Republicans trying to redistrict. So the redistricting war, certainly it was started with Texas and it's still going on and likely will still be going on up until the November 2026 elections. Before I end the video, I did also just want to address I believe the Supreme Court is going to be hearing a lawsuit about the Voting Rights Act, and if that goes in the Republicans' direction, it may overturn a lot of congressional seats, especially big Democratic ones like maybe Georgia 2 or Alabama 2, and could net the Republicans a lot of House seats. As for whether or not that happens and when that happens, still remains to be seen. We'll have to address that if that does happen. That is a possibility that could be happening in the next year or two, but that is a possibility that is out there. Also, another possibility that's out there is the state of Florida. Ron DeSantis has teased now a few times that he wants to redraw the Florida congressional map to try and get out as many Democrats as possible and help the Republicans pick up some seats there. Again, nothing set in stone that's happened yet, but if anything does break on redistricting in any of these states, I'll obviously be doing videos updating on that. But with California Proposition 50 officially passed, this clears the door for the state legislature in California to redraw the congressional map, and as many as 5 to even maybe potentially 6 seats in California could be going to the Democrats from the Republicans, more likely than not going to be 5, but just 5 seats alone out of the already heavily Democratic state. A little bit of a pushback evens the playing field a little bit, but redistricting efforts certainly still ongoing nationwide. So that's all I have for you in today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like and subscribe if you did, and I hope to see you in a future video.